Hello there. This is the journey of my 1-pound ant weight robot Viper King.
Viper King, go! At least the right fork on Viper.
Now, to be completely honest, the story of Viper King started long before it competed in 2023. Just like everybody else, I entered my first tournament with a basic Viper kit with a vertical spinner, and throughout the event, I experimented with different front-end attachments, even going so far as to using lifter scoops as horizontal wedges, which worked for a majority of the time I went against horizontal spinners. Like I said, a majority of the time. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Why did I resort to using lifter scoops? Well, besides the fact that I was still young, and my mind was constantly occupied by other things, I was just planting a seed of creativity like a squirrel when it sees a nut. And with my second tournament approaching in less than a month, I needed to get my mind back in the game. Literally. Rather than being like a cat who's easily distracted every time its owner opens food in the kitchen and results in the thought of, "Dear human, impart on me your great wisdom," I realigned my priorities and began working on the next versions of Viper King for my second and third tournament, which entailed me developing new lifter scoop wedges for horizontal spinners, carving out a useless hole in the bottom of my chassis, and with my workstation becoming more and more messy with each tournament that came by. I was able to complete 2 new robots by the time the tournaments came around and was ready to go with plenty of spares. I even had encouragement from the one and the only Viper King in the flesh. And after my third tournament, I was feeling groovy like a minion dancing to the beat. However, with my fourth tournament only months away and spending a majority of the summer in other activities, progress on Viper King slowed, and when the time came to prepare, I took note of what this old wise cat is saying. Be weird, be random, be who you are. With that in mind, I began progress on Viper King V4 with brand new electronics, a more neater workstation, brand new corner wedges for those hard-hitting horizontal spinners. I was feeling great about the state Viper King was in for Maker Faire Orlando 2023. And after my first assembly of the bot, I began working on the horizontal configuration for Orlando. And sorry for the shaking. This is the first test after my first soldering, after doing a lot of studying for Viper King, and the bot is faster a bit. This is without having, this is without having any adjustments to the frame yet, so still working on the robot. All the electronics are in, they're all good, and just have to level out the wedges, have to drill through the frame a little bit to make those holes to attach the third point of contact for those wedges, and drill the top plate on, and this Viper King is all set. A few weeks after, though,
Something's wrong with Viper King. You can tap out if you need to. Here's your wedge. There you go. And get him into the what's wrong with this thing? Keep fighting.
yeah, driving around like a chicken when a human enters the coop like a madman was not my idea of competing in the tournament. So, after having all my feathers ruffled, so to speak, I firmly believed that it was time to head back to the drawing board. Which, as of attending Maker Faire Orlando 2023, I had already started on the prototype of Viper King V5. But like all prototypes, there were plenty of issues with this version of Viper King. So, after making changes to the weapon motor mounts and redesigns to the weapons, I finally had a grasp on what this version of Viper King could be. So, with this version complete, I ordered the new parts of Viper King, and after a week of waiting for shipping, the parts had arrived, and it was crunch time for assembling Viper King, even if the electronics were stuffed in the chassis like my suitcase every time I traveled during the holidays. The new versions of Viper King were assembled and ready to go, or so I thought. The only issue was the new wedge, and my ability to compete against spinners such as these. I knew that I needed to go back to the drawing board, and after some heavy calculations, I finally had a more realistically redesigned wedge. And the new version of Viper King was ready for its 5th tournament. 2 months later, I stood down the barrel of college. My thoughts went crazy on how I could find time to work on Viper King. It's like those times when you think you left something in the house, but you didn't, and it starts to drive you crazy every time a cat sees a cucumber. But thankfully, I was able to find time to complete the 6th and current version of Viper King. But wait, there's more. As many builders know, one key issue when redesigning an entire bot is making weight. Now, it might seem funny, but Viper King doesn't have problems staying under the weight limit. In fact, the issue with Viper King is to make weight. Even though I designed this version to be exactly at or super close to the weight limit of 16 ounces, they are both 2 ounces under. And with the electronics staying almost the same as previous versions, and my growing obsession of white cheddar popcorn, oh please help me, I decided to call it so I was able to complete Viper King V6. And in time for the tournament that was 3 weeks away, I was ready. And even with another tournament 3 weeks after that, the time for V7's development draws near. Behold, the next version of Viper King, with redesigned front-end attachments with brand new electronics inside. But let's just say that the snake is back with a more vicious bite. And it will also be purple and black. And that was the complete story of Viper King up to today. And with my robotic team now expanding to 5 robots across 2 different weight fields, I feel more determined now than ever before, much like a cat when it's eyeing humans' food. And the future is looking bright for Sharp Scales Robotics.
Next test.